Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, Jody, it's so good to see you. Becky,
Hi.
hi. Oh my gosh. Yes. Hi, Laura, Jennifer,
Hey.
Dawn, Anne. Oh, it's
Hi.
so great to see you all. Hi, Sam. I got to see you earlier today. That's twice in one day. I feel lucky. Hi, Donna, Jessica, Crystal. Oh, thank you all so much for being here today. This is just wonderful. I'm so glad that everybody is here for our special bonus session of Ask a CPA with Melissa Miller Ferguson, teaching us how to attract define and attract our ideal client. I am very lucky because I got to see the first 20 minutes of this presentation in our Theater of Public Speaking session together, and she just really wowed me, and I got so much out of it. And I reached out to her and said, would you be willing to do the expanded version of this session, which I knew she was working on, for Ask a CPA and have us be your guinea pigs? And she said, yes. And I'm so happy about that because we really got a treat set for us today. But first, as usual, we have
Other
all sorts of
stuff.
wonderful updates. So let me tell you about those. Um, One of them is that I want to host an Ask a CPA meetup at Scaling New Heights. Um, Katie Black started a thread for us in Circle uh, to talk about upcoming conferences that we're attending, not just Scaling New Heights, but if you are going to be at Scaling New Heights, please chime in here. And I'm putting that in our chat. Just dropped that in there. That's just the post that Katie made in Circle, so in our Ask a CPA Circle community, talking about what conferences we're excited about and which ones are coming up. Um, Crystal was saying she was planning on it, but not sure if she's going to be able to. Well, I want to say something very special about Scaling New Heights is that we actually have a member of Ask a CPA who currently is going to remain anonymous for the moment, um, who has an extra ticket that she is giving away, and she would like to give it to a member of the Ask a CPA community who has never been to an accounting conference before. And so if there is anybody on this call who is interested in that, so you're a member of Ask a CPA, you've never been to an accounting conference, and you can cover your own lodging and hotel, she will give you her ticket to Scaling New Heights. Very exciting. If you're interested in that, please just reach out to me directly. Send me a direct message in Circle, or send me an email that you would be interested in that, and we'll see how many people we get. And, if it turns out we've got more than one person who is interested, we will figure out some way to choose among you. So again, member of Ask a CPA who's never been to an accounting conference before, free ticket to Scaling New Heights. Looks like we've got a lot of people who are going to be going, which I'm really excited about. We will definitely have an Ask a CPA meetup. I don't know when it's going to be yet. It really is a great opportunity. Thank you for saying that, Crystal. I was extremely touched when this person reached out to me and said that they would like this ticket to go to an Ask a CPA member. So um, that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Second thing, my colleague Question Telka and I are starting a podcast for women in accounting called She Counts. And that is all about real talk. It's all about real talk. And I can't wait to have y'all tune in and participate and join the conversation. And so I have a couple of links for you here. One of them is if you would like to subscribe to She Counts, I'm putting this in chat, our first episode goes live in approximately 10 days. We don't have a specific date yet. We're waiting to hear back from Earmark. Sam, thank you so much for subscribing. I want to say this morning I got to record with Sam and Candy on their new podcast for firm runners for Anchor, and it was absolutely a wonderful experience. I had such a good time talking with them. Theirs is called Unbalanced, and it's all about the also a real talk podcast, but specifically for firm owners, male and female. And our podcast, She Counts, is for all folks in accounting, bookkeeping, and finance adjacent who are it's specifically about women's experiences though. And so it could be somebody who's working at a big CPA firm, it could be people who are running their own firms. Two wonderful podcasts that I'm super excited about. So there's the subscribe link, and then also I wanted to share this LinkedIn post that oh, thank you. Kimberly said that she just subscribed. I really appreciate it. I want it to be wonderful. We have 45 episodes planned already. I am not kidding. We've been planning this for 2 years now, and I'm gonna be sourcing information from you. I want to hear stories. I want to hear book recommendations. I want to hear your problems. I want to hear your solutions. There's so much. What topics do you want to hear about? That kind of stuff. I will definitely be reaching out to y'all about that. I also just tossed in chat a LinkedIn post that I made recently about the She Counts podcast. In that, there is a link to the She Counts LinkedIn page. And that is the page where we're hoping to have a lot of these conversations. So for example, I will post about an upcoming topic that we're going to be covering on an episode and say, hey, what are your thoughts? What are your experiences with this or that topic? Some examples of topics. Obviously, we're going to be covering the Me Too movement. Another topic that we're going to be covering is how to find a mentor and the importance of that. We're also going to be talking about how you keep showing up for work even when life gets in the way, when you have tragedies and hard times. So lots of different topics. There's definitely going to be one about some of our horror stories. For example, when I had all of my work stolen by a guy who was co-presenting with me. Lots of horror stories. Um, and we've got a question in chat. Is this being recorded and will it be posted in Circle? Yes, all of our sessions are recorded and all of them will be posted in Circle, including this one. Melissa will also be sharing this in her, I don't know if it's going to be YouTube or what kind of situation, but it will be accessible in that way as well. And a reminder, since I'm just mentioning that LinkedIn post, if you're not already connected with me on LinkedIn, please connect with me. And I don't just mean follow. I don't mean follow me on LinkedIn. If you're an Ask a CPA, I want to be connected because I want to see your posts too. I don't want you to just follow me. We're friends. Like it goes two ways. So please, if we're not connected yet on LinkedIn, please do that. Also, Ask a CPA sticker sign up. If you would like an Ask a CPA sticker, please sign up here. I am putting that in chat. Have people started getting their stickers? Because I know Allie said she just started sending them out a few days ago. She had prepared them all, but was waiting for the stamps to come. Nobody yet? Okay, when you do, I'm excited to see where you stuck them. Our most recent Ask a CPA recording was for April 30th. That was a session on, just dump that in chat. That was a session on the simplest version that I could come up with of how to take prior year tax returns and put them into a new QBO file or QBO or Zero or whatever it is that you're using in the form of a journal entry. And so that is now live in Circle, and it is also linked to in chat. And then our next session is going to be Monday, May 19th at 1 p.m. Central, dropping that in chat as well. This is not going to be our usual one where I just take questions from the audience or I take questions that were in Circle. This one is very specifically going to be about tax work papers. We are going to this is one of my favorite topics, and I have heard from people that they don't get to see these inner workings, and so I want to make sure to share them with you. And so what's going on here is I'm going to show you how when we as tax pros, we in our firm specifically as tax pros, when we get the finalized, we get the word that our QBO file is ready to go, and we export our financial statements from it and then prepare them to put them into the tax return. And then once we've prepared the tax return, reconcile it against those work papers to make sure that everything got where it was supposed to be. I'm going to show you those work papers. I'm going to show you a real live, this is one that we used internally so that you get to see what are things that are book to tax differences and which of those things actually need to be booked into the QBO or whatever GL program you're using file, and which of them are just reconciling items at the bottom of our worksheet. So we're going to go through that in our next session on Monday, May 19th at 1 p.m. Central. And then the next one will be Wednesday, May 28th at 2 p.m. Central. I will be posting that later today in Circle. That is our usual standing date. You know, one of our dates each month is that last Wednesday of the month at 2 p.m. Central. And then the other date of ours floats around. So that will be our usual one. Sandy is saying she made up her own book to tax worksheet, but it will be great to see what it's supposed to look like. Okay, I'm really glad you said that because there is no supposed to. This is not something that you learn in school. This is something that you make up on your own. And this is just the way that we do it. So it may be that your book to tax reconciliation worksheet is perfect. This is just what we do internally. So full disclosure there, this is not something that anybody has ever taught us how to do. I did it one way. Then when I brought Julie into the firm, she was doing it a slightly different way. I liked her way just as much as mine, so we use her way. There are lots of ways to do it, though. All right. Those are all the updates I have. Hope says, I'm curious too to compare to what we're doing. Well, you know what I might ask? I don't know if we'll have enough time in the next session, but just in case we do, Hope and Sandy and anyone else who's got a book to tax worksheet that they're using internally, if you wouldn't mind bringing a copy of it with the client name redacted, um, and if we have time, I'll ask you to share yours. And if we don't have time in the next session, maybe it's something that we can do in the session after that. But I would love for people to be able to compare and contrast. Again, my way of doing it is not the only way of doing it, but there are certain things that every book to tax reconciliation work paper should have in it. The main reason that I am teaching this is not to teach you how to do a book to tax reconciliation, because we will have a session coming up on how to do that. The main reason I'm doing this is to show you what you should feel entitled to expect from the tax professionals with whom you work, so that you can see this, they should have something like this internally, and you should be able to ask for a copy of it. So I want to show you what's possible. And so Hope and Sandy and anyone else who's got one, I'd love it if you wouldn't mind bringing it to the next meeting. And if we have time, we'll take a look at everybody's. And if not, again, we can circle that forward to the next meeting after that. Any other comments before we move on to the main event today? Obviously, you can see that I am going to be the person who is monitoring chat today. Sarah is not with us today. And obviously, when we have a guest, it's really fun for me to actually get an opportunity to dig into the chat, which I love doing. So let me move forward and introduce Melissa Miller Furgeson. I know most of you know Melissa because she is such a wonderful unifying force in our industry. She is just somebody who's so generous with her time. And let me see, said it there. She's so generous with her time and her knowledge. We met through Bookkeeping Buds many, many, many years ago. And over time, she became my conference bestie. And whenever I would introduce her to people, I would say, this is my conference bestie, Melissa. And at some point, somebody said, at what point are you going to start calling her your actual bestie? Because I think you guys are besties outside of conferences as well. And it's true. At some point, she became my actual bestie. She also lives here in Chicago, so we get together in real life more often than just at the conferences. Although it's pretty hilarious how often we only get to see each other at the conferences. And then last fall, we actually both got to take the Theater of Public Speaking cohort together, which was a wonderful experience. And I got to see the first 20 minutes of today's presentation in that theater of public speaking final, it's like a final presentation exam um, to become board certified. And I will say that she passed with flying colors. I did too. And it was great because we got together for drinks and compared our matrices to each other to see where we could improve. And she said, I really want to build this out into a full session because I think this is the best way that I can help people in our industry. And I said, hey, girl, let's do it. And that is why we are here today. So I would love to welcome to everybody Melissa Miller Ferguson.
All right, here I am. Let's see. See if I can share the right screen.
That's always the hardest part.
All right.
Yep,
You got
looks
it?
good. Yeah, I'm going to
Okay.
put myself on mute until a little bit later, at which point I will be popping in to help Melissa with some of the audience interaction. And actually, I don't know if Melissa, if you were about to say this anyway, but we reminded people in the in circle when I posted about this, paper and pen if you can, or if you have a note taker, because this is going to be interactive. She's going to be asking us to jot some thoughts down. All right, Melissa, take it away.
All right. Hi, everybody. I am Melissa Miller Ferguson, but you know that already. I'm a QuickBooks ProAdvisor and owner of Bookkeeping for Good, a firm that is dedicated to providing exceptional bookkeeping services for churches and nonprofits. And we are here today to learn how to identify and attract your ideal client. And like Nancy said, and like we reminded you, you'll need paper and a pen or a marker or a crayon, I don't care what, but something to write with. So if you need some time to grab that, do it now. All right. So 7 years ago, I did not have a full book of business. I said yes almost every time someone asked me to work on their books and passed off those nagging, uncomfortable feelings about my bad fit clients as imposter syndrome. I was a terrible boss to my only employee, me. My only criteria for clients back then was that they wanted me to do their bookkeeping and they were willing to pay me to do it. Luckily, I found a better boss, also me, by learning how to identify what ideal means to me and then changing my practice to focus on working with only ideal clients. So, why is this important? For me, it was the mental and physical health benefits. Knowing your ideal client profile reduces overwhelm. It helps you to narrow your focus, reducing overwhelm and decision fatigue. It leads to more positive interactions with your clients and fewer frustrations because you are doing work that excites you and you're dealing with clients who truly appreciate your work. Finally, it boosts confidence. Being clear on who you're serving validates your professional self-worth. I know I'm more confident when talking to prospective clients now because I've internalized what's important to me in a client. I can pretty quickly assess whether they fit or whether I should refer them to someone else. Have you ever thought about how working with bad fit clients might shape your physical and mental health? Back when I was a terrible boss to myself, I had one particular bad fit client that caused me so much stress and anxiety that I became physically ill. One day, about 6 months into my engagement with that client, I was sitting in my car outside their office and I felt really odd, like kind of jittery and just not right. I didn't know what it was at the time, but it was clear to me that something was really wrong. So why did I keep working with that client and others that caused me stress for so long? I was afraid to be choosy about my clients because I needed more income. But the truth is that knowing what works for you allows you to focus your efforts and gain better business results. A 2022 report conducted by Salesforce emphasizes the importance of personalized service and deep client relationships. It showed that 84% of clients are more likely to stay loyal to a service provider that understands and caters specifically to their needs. You can be choosy and give certain clients exactly what they and you need. Change is hard. Inertia is a really powerful force. It often feels like just going along with the status quo would be so much easier. In fact, the opposite is true. Making a change is often easier than remaining in an unhappy situation. And a study from the American Psychological Association shows that long-term stress contributes to the development of chronic diseases like hypertension and diabetes. The APA goes on to say that making changes that reduce stress, even if challenging initially, can help improve both mental and physical well-being in the long run. Now, the difficulty of managing a chronic disease can't be easier than changing our patterns, can it? And this wasn't on my list of reasons at the time, but I hear this pretty regularly. Like, I'm new, I don't know what I want or what kind of clients I like. Well, you know what? It's okay to change your mind. Many successful entrepreneurs have changed their client base over time as their business evolved. One example is Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, who initially started selling her shapewear to small retail shops. But as her business grew, she shifted her focus to high-end department stores. Over time, she found that her ideal clients were large retailers who could scale her business rather than small boutique shops. And hey, look at her now. So we've established that it's probably a bad idea to work with clients that aren't a good fit for us. It's not good for our health, however you define health, mental, physical, or emotional. And we've knocked down some common objections to being more picky about who we work with. Now it's time we do the work for ourselves. Raise your hand, and I can't see everybody. I need to expand my window. There we go. Raise your hand if you have a physical reaction like cringing, maybe, when you see an email, text, or phone call from one or more of your clients. Yeah, why is that? What is it about interacting with that client that makes you feel that way? What are some specific traits of those bad fit clients, those clients that make you cringe? For me, with that client that made me physically ill, there were a few reasons. They were using software I wasn't familiar with, so my confidence was shot. And they wanted me in their office once a week while I wanted to be remote. So my frustration was high. Those were my reasons. What are yours? What would you describe as reasons a client might be a bad fit for you? We're all different, so there's no right or wrong answer. Only what makes sense for you. I've heard her say this a few times, and it always sticks with me. Niall Carter-Gray says that clients who want to talk with her on the phone are a bad fit. That's not how she runs her business. And, you know, my husband cannot deal with that. He's a salesperson. He's on the phone all the time, but I would rather be like Niall and never talk on the phone. There are many other reasons why a client might be a bad fit. Here are some examples from the accounting industry. So, specific industry or size of business. Does anybody here have a niche? Tell us in the chat what your niche is. Anyone? I'm not seeing it. Do we have niches? Oh, Dawn has medical practices and educational consulting. Nancy with her hyper-local Logan Square niche in Chicago. Crystal, Odoo and Tabs 3 software. Irina, construction and real estate. All right. Nice. Thank you. According to a survey by Intuit, 53% of accounting professionals are planning to specialize in specific industries because niche knowledge, that's hard to say, niche knowledge helps them serve clients more effectively. Next is financial instability or inability or unwillingness to pay. A QuickBooks report shows that 64% of small businesses experience late payments, and 47% say it impacts their ability to pay their own bills. Do you want to deal with clients that have trouble paying their bills? I don't. I put all my clients on automatic upfront payments monthly, so I don't have to wait to be paid. Personality or culture clash. So in a survey by Accountancy Age, 67% of accountants said that managing client relationships was one of their biggest challenges. I used to say my niche was nice people. I just wanted to work with people that treated me well and that I got along with. That's valid, but over time, I've honed that requirement. Now I only work with churches and nonprofits. And to get really specific, I only work with churches and nonprofits that affirm the rights of the LGBTQIA and BIPOC communities, and who are nice and treat me and my staff well. I've hit on the niche and the culture. There are lots of reasons a client might be a good fit or bad fit. We can probably all agree on some of those reasons, like doesn't pay me or is mean to me and my staff. But you also each have your own list of traits you don't want in a client, and your bad fit might be someone else's good fit. It's time to pull out your paper and pen and make a list of traits you do not want in a client. Consider how your current clients make you feel and the traits you identify with any bad feelings about the client, the ones that make you cringe when the phone rings. I'm going to give you a whole minute to work on that list, and I'm setting the timer on my phone.
So we're each making our own list of what a bad fit client, what qualities a bad fit client has, like for us, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. 1 minute feels like a long time when you're the presenter, especially as
Whereas I was just about to say that wasn't a minute. There's no way that was a whole minute.
we can take more time if you need it.
Oh, I love this. I don't know if you're looking at the chat, but Hope Brown says that list was so easy to make.
Love it. So, shout it out, Hope. Can we hear a few of these bad fit criteria? A couple people unmute and tell us what you wrote down for your bad traits.
John, can I borrow you for a minute?
Do my list really quick. Problems paying, need constant hand holding. Those who are commingling a lot, I cannot stand it. Somebody outside of my, like we're doing service-based industry only. I can't help you if you're a nonprofit or a restaurant or whatever. Somebody I have to convince that we're bringing value to. And then lastly, unhappy people. No, thank you.
Right on. I like that list. Does anybody else have stuff to add?
I do. I don't like working with people who expect me to do more than what we agreed to do. I've had a client who wanted
Out
me
of
to
scope.
doing like secretarial stuff. I was like,
All right. These are all great and valid because they're yours, you know? They're your reasons. Okay, back to the slides. So remember that jittery, uncomfortable feeling I had in the car? It jarred me enough that on that same day, I called my doctor and made an appointment. And after some very simple tests, the diagnosis was simple. She said, Melissa, you have high blood pressure, and I need you to take care of you. It took a minute, but I realized that I had been sacrificing my health by ignoring the things that made me question whether clients like these were really a good fit for me and my practice. So I took the BP meds she prescribed me, and I made a plan to find better clients so I could pass along the ones that weren't a good fit for me to someone else who was a good fit for them. Will you share some examples of the traits of your favorite clients? What makes them special? Please share that in the chat, and I'll wait a few seconds and we'll share those out loud. All right. Values my input, values our services, willingness to learn and grow. I like that. Implement our suggestions readily. They're very responsive. Yep. Sounds like me. So respectful. You've given me some great examples of good fit traits in clients. And you know a few of my criteria, including niche and culture. What are some others? Again, a few examples from the accounting industry. Good fit clients are communicative, proactive, and responsive. Sounds like the chat. They communicate openly and take initiative in managing their finances, providing necessary information on time and staying on top of deadlines. They respond promptly to requests for information, helping maintain workflow and efficiency. A study published in the Journal of Business Research found that client responsiveness positively affects overall service quality and client satisfaction, leading to a better working relationship. They are technologically savvy. They're comfortable using accounting software and digital tools, which facilitates smoother collaboration and data sharing. And they have an attitude of collaboration. The Business Relationship Management Institute found that organizations that invest in collaborative long-term relationships with service providers, like bookkeepers and accountants, experience a 30% higher success rate in project outcomes. So now it's your turn again. Use your paper and pen to make a list of traits you do want in a client. Consider your favorite clients and how they make you feel, and the traits you identify with those good feelings about the client. I'm going to give you another whole minute, which is not enough for Nancy, but plenty for me. And while I'm giving you that minute, I'll tell you a few suggestions. Maybe you like them because they always respond to your emails in a reasonable amount of time. Pretty sure I saw something like that in the chat earlier. Maybe they're really good at following directions and always send their receipts to Dext like you ask them to. That's definitely one of my favorite criteria. And it can be silly. Like maybe they always have chocolate chip cookies at the office when you go visit them. You know, it doesn't have to have anything to do with accounting or bookkeeping. It can be anything that makes them a good fit for you. All right, time's up again. So does anybody want to unmute and share one or two of the traits that make a client a good fit for you?
Hear me out?
I'm actually going to come in here also because there's one that I bet a bunch of people don't have on their list that I have on mine, and I wanted to share it because it's very me. You know, we have this hyper local firm, right? Um, I want to work with other local small businesses who also value the local economy. I want them to have the same kind of value system I do, where we try not to shop at the big box stores and, you know, we're trying not to nickel and dime our neighbors and that kind of thing. That's very, very important to me. So I wanted to add that one because you were talking about how this is like our list that isn't necessarily everybody's list. I wouldn't imagine that would be on everybody's list. But if we have that value, then it just doesn't make any sense for us to work with clients who don't share that.
Absolutely. And that goes back to that culture thing that we mentioned earlier. So in the chat, or Nancy, the other Nancy.
Yeah, just, I'm listening here, even though I haven't been on video. I didn't kind of print myself up for video ready.
I don't usually either, so that's okay.
I absolutely will not work with abrasive people anymore. I used to think, oh, I can turn them around. And I can't stand people that are micromanagers.
Mm.
Even though but um I have to say like very long story short, I had for a span of like 4 to 6 months lately, like I've been bidding on stuff and I wasn't getting it. And either price was too high or I'm like, yeah, this is not going to be a good fit. So I was like, oh, okay, what's going on? And then like Cindy Schrader would always say, this gives you opportunity when something comes up. And then when I was at a networking thing with the banker that I knew, here I found a client that is the right client because I'm at this function and we're networking and we each introduce ourselves and he's like, "Oh, I own two businesses and it's all jacked up. I really need to talk to you." And my banker contact said to them, "Yeah, Nancy speaks banking and she speaks accounting." So I had capacity. So I went to cleaning up his one business. I'm now on his second business, and they're both going to turn into monthly service. And I can add so much extra value to them. So it's like realizing somebody that really sees your value and like the different tool set that you bring to it. Someone that can actually see that and be like, wow, that's great. Like, that's really important to me. And like, I'll go the extra mile for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's awesome that you're like recognizing what's important to you and what you can do for them. I love that.
Well, yeah. And then, just people that you really want to help, even if it's not doesn't make the most sense financially, if I can really make a difference on their life and they're making a difference in other people's lives. I did that early this year. I'm not Jewish, but there's a phrase called doing a mitzvah for somebody. And I did my Catholic version of a mitzvah, and this guy's like, "You have no idea how this like literally has changed my life and reduced my stress level because of this." Like he might probably thank me like 40 times.
Wow.
And I didn't do it for the thanks, but I did it because I knew I could really help him. And yeah, so
That's great. No, it feels so good to help people. That's probably one of my, good fit traits is people who are happy to be helped. So let's do one more exercise to help refine our list of good and bad client traits. Very quickly, list your 2 to 3 most favorite and 2 to 3 least favorite clients. Don't think too much about why you chose them most or least. Just write them down quickly as they pop into your head and leave a little bit of space between each one. I'm not going to count a whole minute for this. This should be pretty quick and easy. I'm trying to watch and see if people are still writing or not. All right, moving on. So now look at that list of most and least favorite clients and write 1 or 2 words or phrases beside each one that captures why you feel this way about that particular client. These may be the same words or phrases that you wrote down earlier, or this exercise may prompt some different words or phrases to come up for you. The reasons may seem silly and might not have anything to do with accounting or bank reconciliations, and that's okay. They don't need to make sense to anyone but you. While you're doing that, I'm going to tell you a little story. As I was working on this presentation, I asked my employee which of our clients is her favorite. And she chose the theater troupe, and Nancy knows this group. This theater troupe puts on a new collection of 32-minute plays every weekend. They are wild and wacky. They sell the majority of their tickets for cash at the door based on the roll of a dice. Yes, your ticket price is determined by the number you roll on a pair of crazy dice. She has to go to their office every week to count all this cash. And it sounds like a pain in the neck, doesn't it? But she loves going to the theater to count cash every week. They have silly art on the walls and goofy toys in the theater office. There's usually a small group of actors writing the next week's plays or rehearsing while she's there, and she loves the vibe. Being in this noisy, messy environment might drive you and me crazy, but she loves it. That's her ideal. And it doesn't really have anything to do specifically with accounting or bookkeeping. But it makes her happy, so that's all that matters. Okay. We have made our lists. We know what we want. We know which of our current clients we like the most and why. Now we need to figure out how to attract more of them. There are tons of different ways to do this. I've brainstormed the ways I've done this. I Googled, I ChatGPT'd, and I settled on 3 methods I consider the most approachable and that have worked for me. Networking. This seems obvious, and it can be. Networking can take many forms, including belonging to this group right here and other accounting industry groups. Many of us share leads here and in other places and ideas freely with one another, and it makes sense, right? But I also want to look for unique networking opportunities in the places where our ideal clients hang out. Are there physical spaces like co-working offices, coffee shops, salons, especially those salon suites where there are like 20 or 30 different, owners in a single building, hardware stores, your mechanics shop, like places where your niche might hang out? Niche networking groups or industry organizations. For instance, there is a membership organization here in Chicago for LGBTQIA welcoming churches. I could offer to provide a short presentation on a simple church accounting topic at their next meeting to let members know that I'm available. That's one idea. You might love photographers, but you're not a photographer, so you wouldn't necessarily think of going to a photographers conference, but maybe it would be a good idea to go to a conference where lots of photographers are and, talk to them, hand out your business card. Think about what might make sense for you. And are there specific social media channels like Active Rain for real estate professionals where your people hang out? Maybe you could join and start offering business tips in their chat, or offer to write a guest spot for their blog. What networking opportunities would fit with your ideal client? Does anybody have any ideas that are sort of niche specific or work for your ideal clients?
I mean, I'll go. I'm definitely out locally meeting a lot of business owners, but we're looking at niching down to like the mental health therapist industry. So I'm starting to find out like where some of the conferences are, where are they going for continuing education, at least locally to start with, and we'll kind of build up from there because I want to be in the room where they are, where firm owners are, so I can network and meet and greet and share the goodness of information we have.
All right. Yeah, conferences in their industry, podcasts focused toward the niche. I like that. Appear on a podcast. Work with software that's commonly used by the niche. Joanna, do you mean like learn industry specific software and use it in your business?
I raised my hand. I didn't know if I was supposed to unmute. I've heard of bookkeepers that like been using the software because like their niche uses it a lot. They contacted the software company and developed partnerships, and they would even refer them, or they could write a blog article for if that software has like a newsletter already, like they can things like that. And they have conferences, or they have, I don't know, all kinds of stuff that, could propel that person.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What else do we have in the chat? Oh, influencer industry conferences. Yeah. I love conferences. So if I could find, niche conferences to go to, that would be fun too.
And for me, obviously, we have a hyper local firm. And one of the biggest things that was helpful to us is that some of our clients are major characters or organizations in our neighborhood. So, for example, the Logan Square Chamber of Commerce, we were their bookkeepers. Unity Park is one of our pro bono clients. These are places that, our state representative is a client. They are excited about the work that we do, and they talk us up to other people who are also in the neighborhood. So if you're hyper local, those are great. Ask your clients to talk you up to their friends.
That's a great segue, Nancy. Guess what the next slide's about? Referrals. According to a study by Nielsen, the TV ratings people, remember them? 88% of consumers trust recommendations from people they know over other forms of advertising and marketing. Make sure your favorite clients know that you love them and that you want to help more people just like them. Ask them for referrals and be specific in your ask. Make sure to tell them what you love about working with them and what you're looking for in future clients, so they know your criteria. All right, marketing. Marketing is important because it helps you connect with your ideal client, drive sales, build brand awareness, and foster long-term relationships. Make sure your website includes messaging about who your ideal client is. There are many different ways to do this. Niche is an easy one. You can literally say right on your website, like I do, we strive to be a go-to bookkeeping firm for small nonprofits and churches in Chicagoland. Not only is my ideal client a church or nonprofit, but they're also willing to pay appropriately for my services. So I include pricing on my website. It's somewhat vague, like, starting at X dollars. And I've heard a lot of people say that that's a no-no, but I feel like it helps me weed out those clients who are looking for a bargain. I don't want to waste my time on a discovery call or a series of back and forth emails only to find that the prospective client can't afford or doesn't want to pay my minimum fee. Include reviews or testimonials from a few of your favorite clients on your website so that visitors can see the names of some of the businesses you work with. That's a bit more subtle than directly specifying a niche, but it gets to the similar point. A potential client could see a testimonial from another business like theirs, and that may make the difference for them in deciding to contact you. I see that the architecture firm across town is really happy with this accountant. I bet she'd do good work for me too. And like I mentioned with referrals earlier, ask for reviews early and often. I have an email template, which includes links to my QBO ProAdvisor, my LinkedIn, and my Google business page, so I can easily ask clients for reviews. Once I've
Melissa,
been working,
would you be willing to briefly tell the story about about how you came up above me in my own zip code because of that? Because that was so eye-opening for me. That was so helpful.
on the QBO Find a ProAdvisor.
Yes.
So yeah, I have this email template and I use it periodically, like regularly, periodically, to request reviews from clients who, haven't reviewed me yet. And I had more reviews than Nancy, and we are close enough together in Chicagoland that we, cross. We're not in the same zip code, but we're near enough that because I had more reviews, I came up higher in her zip code than she did.
In my own zip code.
Yeah.
But I think I didn't have any reviews when we started, or maybe I just had 3 or 4 or something like that. And then Melissa helped me with the language, and I saved a template in Gmail and set it on my calendar. And every 2 weeks, I would ask a different client, and it has the link to the ProAdvisor, to LinkedIn, and to something else, Alignable or something like that. And I would say, hey, if you're happy with the work that we've been doing, it would mean a lot to us. Could you say something like this or highlight these things? And they would do it, and it was wonderful. It made a really big difference. So that was very helpful.
Yeah, and highlighting the, a bit of language that to help them, write their review. Like, I love working with LGBTQ friendly churches, and I love to help more of them. Would you be willing to write a short review on one of these platforms? Here's the links to everything that you might choose. You don't have to do them all, but so that other churches like yours will see how I helped you with your, fill in the blank, whatever it is that you hope that they'll focus on in the review to like point toward that ideal client. And like Nancy said, I send them out staggered so that they're not all, popping up at once. And because I don't want to see like 3 reviews all posted in the same week and then nothing for 6 months or a year. Send out one here, one there. Hope has her hand raised, and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the chat. Go Hope.
Don't you worry about the chat. I've got the chat under control. I'm answering questions on your behalf, so don't you have to worry about the chat. Just talk to Hope.
All right.
I was just gonna piggyback on what you guys were saying about the ProAdvisor. I had never thought about the ProAdvisor reviews, and a colleague of mine about 2 years ago was saying, make sure you get your ProAdvisor reviews, and that has done the same thing locally for us here in DC. Like people who have been in their practice for years. I mean, I think I'm only up to about 30 reviews now, but still they don't have any reviews or they're under 5 or 10 reviews, but I come up first in their zip code. So that works. And don't be afraid to ask people for reviews. We ask people for reviews, whether we're doing tax work, bookkeeping work, I do training. I'm just throwing everything at it. Because one of the other things that I noticed when we were doing the ProAdvisor application, um, the up and coming 100 or whatever, they ask for how many reviews you have. So that's part of that criteria, and why you want to keep it on the radar if you're thinking about trying to become a top 100 ProAdvisor.
Absolutely. All good points. All good points. Anybody else? All right. So finally, in my firm, we developed a Google form with a short list of yes or no and open-ended questions to help us gauge the fitness of a client before we even talk to them. Our form includes questions like open-ended, briefly describe your organization and why you're looking for a bookkeeper. Again, does your organization affirm the rights of the LGBTQIA and BIPOC communities? Have you or are you willing to connect your bank to QuickBooks? Do you use QuickBooks? Because we're a QuickBooks only firm. And finally, the last question says, you value great bookkeeping and understand that our pricing is customized to the needs of each client and requires a paid file checkup before pricing or engaging your organization. This checkup includes a detailed written report of our findings, even if either side decides not to move forward. Does this fit with your expectations? Whoops, sorry about that. Some prospects will see these questions and self-select not to move forward and quit the form before they even finish it. That can tell us a few things, like they aren't willing to take the time to provide simple info. So maybe they won't be willing to take the time to send us receipts or answer questions when we're working together. Not a good fit for us. Or maybe they don't want to pay for the diagnostic review. That gives us an indication of their price sensitivity. Again, not a good fit. Others will complete the form with yeses in all the right places, and we'll schedule a call with them. And their answers to those initial questions, especially the why are you looking for a bookkeeper, help us to get a feel for their personality and whether they'll be a good fit for us. And they also help us direct that initial conversation. So can you all share, we're getting to the end of time, so we'll make this quick. Can you all share some ideas for how you plan to attract your ideal clients? Let's help each other brainstorm. Unmute or share in the chat. The chat is wild.
All right, so the main thing we're getting in the chat, and I've given everybody pretty much the same response, is that people are very excited about seeing some of your resources. So for example, what is the language you're using in the template email? What are the questions that you ask on that form for potential clients, things like that. And so I just keep saying, you know what, Melissa and I will talk afterward. I'm sure she'd be happy to share some of these resources, and we'll make sure that those get posted when we post the recording.
Absolutely.
So just keep your eye out in Circle, and when that recording gets posted, we'll make sure that we have, either a private link to something where Melissa shares that stuff for us, or we'll just copy and paste it in the actual recording post. Either way, we'll figure out some good way to make sure everybody gets access.
All right. Does anybody have any, fantastic idea that they're doing or planning to do now?
Dawn Slocan has one that she just mentioned in chat. She's going to be going to a niche specific event and present.
All right. Go,
Yeah.
Dawn.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anybody else?
I'd be curious to hear, Don, how did you get on their radar being in the accounting industry of getting on whatever your niche is, like to become a speaker? I know we don't have time today, but I'd be interested in that topic.
If Melissa, if you are just about wrapped up, I don't know how close you are to the end, but then anybody who can stay after could hear Dawn's answer to that question.
I have one more slide.
All
It's
right,
perfect
go
timing.
ahead. We'll let Melissa wrap up, and then Dawn, if you don't mind coming off mute, I would love to hear more about that. I know we all would.
Okay. So I am happy to report that I broke up with that bad fit client and replaced them fairly quickly. Okay. My blood pressure is stable on the lowest dose of medication. Yes. And I currently have a full roster of happy clients that make me happy too. Now, I want the same for you. Please make a commitment to yourself to hold on to these lists and use the insights you've gained today to make decisions about your client roster so that you and your clients can also be happy and less stressed. Write down that commitment and share it on Ask a CPA or with your business bestie, with your partner and close friend, whoever, because goals that are written down and shared are more likely to be achieved. I hope that you're able to use the information I've shared today to feel empowered to make changes in your business that will make positive impacts on your mental, physical, and emotional health. You deserve it. Thank you.
Everybody come off mute here for a second. Give her some love. Give her a round of applause. This was just gold. Fantastic job, Melissa.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You are welcome. I was nervous. I hope I didn't seem like it.
No,
You did an
said-
amazing job. As a matter of fact, if you hadn't said that, I never would have known. So next time, shush.
Honesty is a wonderful thing, Nancy. It's okay.
Yes, yes, that's true. Honesty is wonderful. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So I wanna start. There's a lot of good stuff in the chat. So if you need to drop off, I understand that we're at the hour. And this recording will get posted. And so if you want to circle back around and hear some of this chat, for anybody who can stay on for a little while longer, we got some good stuff going on in the chat, and I want to ask some people to unmute. So Dawn, if you wouldn't mind unmuting and starting with, Hope asking you how you got involved presenting at that niche specific event. How'd you get on their radar?
Yeah, so when I was trying to figure out what niches I wanted to serve, I went with the do what you know. So just a little background, I was a CFO for a private school system for a long time. And so that's how I got into the educational consulting. It's something I believe in. It's something I knew. It's how I got there. The medical practices, so we have family in the medical field. And so that was another just kind of like organic, learn, do what you know, that kind of thing. And so with that kind of insider information, knowing in the medical field, I know that individual counties and areas, they all have medical societies. And they're just smaller groups of a larger organization, and they meet monthly. They have family events, things like that. And so I attended one as a social member and just kind of used that. I mean, I literally did it so that I could start talking to people and be like, hey, I'd love to come in a professional capacity. And so that kind of was the easy part. The harder part for me was one, convincing myself to do it, and two, actually building the presentation, which isn't quite polished off yet. So I go in September, and I'll have the full body at a large county just outside of the Pittsburgh area to present to. So that's how I did it. I found where I think somebody said, I think maybe Donna Reed said, ask your clients where they go and then kind of just start talking to people. So that's what I did.
That is absolutely wonderful. Hope, does that answer your question?
It does, because I mean, I'm going and doing all the networking locally with a lot of the small business organizations, but I think I want to niche in a certain area. So I'm just like, okay, I mean, I'm talking to business owners, but I'm talking to all business owners, which I don't think I want to stop doing because I want to educate, but I do want to kind of plant that seed in the therapist, mental health professional, firm owner type environment. So just trying to wiggle my way in that to that arena as well.
So one
Yeah,
of the
I
things
would even recommend. Oh, I'm sorry. I would even
Go ahead.
recommend if you have clients in that space now, and if they're on LinkedIn or they're posting or they're blogging, look at the things they're talking about and see if you can't wiggle into those, because that's how I knew how to address a group like this, is only because I knew where people were going.
Yeah, they're quiet. I mean, I think they're so busy working. They're not like hot and heavy on LinkedIn and other professional networks. And when I ask them, they might have a couple of recommendations, but they're not doing continuing education, at least
The
not local.
mental health therapists, really? Oh,
Yeah, they
not
are.
locally.
It,
Yeah.
but yeah, not locally per se. They're normally flying out to where X, Y, or Z, which
Well,
I
that
would
might
do
be
that.
that might be
Yeah,
worth it. Now,
yeah.
we used to, one of our earlier niches was photographers, which is funny that Melissa brought that up as an example. There, one of my clients said to me, um, we have a group that meets in Chicago of photographers every month. Would you be willing to be our guest speaker 1 month? And so I talked about sales tax situations that are specific to photographers because they get some really weird stuff going on there. And man, I had another appointment I had to go to afterward, and they were like, "No, don't leave, don't leave." And the whole room erupted in applause, and I like had to run out the door and be like, "Bye, everybody." It was just wild. At that point, I could have gotten like every
Yeah.
photographer in Chicago if I wanted it, because that was a topic that they all struggle with so much. So I feel like digging deeper, you will find those groups. And just ask a mental health professional, like, do you have a group locally that you meet up with to talk about these things? Because I know my therapist does.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope your topic, actually, the topic I decided on was why it's important to reconcile their billing software with their bank account.
That's a
Because
good
they
one.
don't understand, they literally do not understand that when they're getting that money in, it doesn't mean they're getting everything that they billed for in, and some of it trickles in and some of it doesn't. And so they're like watching money come into the bank, these medical professionals, but they're not understanding how that relates back to their billing. So that's kind of the topic of my presentation. And mental health, I've had mental health clients, although I do more traditional like physicians, but mental health clients have that same problem. So that could be something for you to
We
like.
talked about that on Monday because I have an example that I do in my normal training about those missed merchant fees. Oh my gosh. We just went through that at the tax desk with a mental health professional, got that K1 for the gross instead of the net, and reported the gross on the taxes without considering the fees and stuff. So, yeah, everybody was like, it happened. So, all right. Thank you, ladies.
And Donna's got something that I know she'd like to share that's related to this topic because it's something she's been doing for a long time. Donna, I don't know if that's what you have your hand up about or not.
Oh, absolutely, because I've been doing this almost since the beginning of my practice, and it has grown like immensely. So I reach out to the again, the software companies and the companies that I use. Not only that, but then the companies that my clients use to speak on topics at their conferences. So companies like Stripe. Stripe just had one, and they let me do a presentation there. Stripe Sessions, which was local. Well,
Oh
to me, it's
no, I
local.
wish
San
I had
Francisco.
known that.
And they
What?
and then VidCon, which I'm not doing this year because it coincides with Scaling New Heights. But there's another one where they reached out and asked me if I would come speak to a group, which is kind of funny because VidCon typically is younger kids, so I'm speaking to their parents. Yeah, that's how that one goes. I'm usually in the parent room because they don't know what to do when their kids are making this incredible money doing YouTube videos and crazy things. Yeah, so there's stuff like that over the years. I've spoken at Y Combinator. I've spoken with a ton of different places in the tech world, even like Uber and I'm trying to think in the beginning, Slack, Uber, all those guys that were coming out of Y Combinator that moved on. Oh, Kajabi was one also. So you can see I'm not speaking at accounting conferences very, very often. In fact, hardly ever. what I'm
Because you
speaking
guys
at are the conferences where the people are
but
that
you
I
guys,
want to talk to.
you
I'm
guys are,
sorry.
I was saying, you guys are out there on the map, okay? Everybody knows about Donna Reed. Everybody
Not
knows.
everybody knows about me.
I mean, you know what I'm saying. You guys are like
No.
on the fig trees growing fruits up there. They don't, it's we're down here in the little roots trying to take sprout.
Okay.
Get to
Let me
where you
just dispel that right now. Let me dispel that thought process. Don't use that at all. Take
okay.
that thought process out because it's hard work for everybody to do it all, no matter where you are.
Yes.
I decided to create a YouTube channel a year ago because I wanted to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's very hard. I work probably 20 hours. No, I probably work 12 hours a day to do a podcast and a YouTube. They're very hard to do. Nancy knows.
Mhm.
She has a team of people helping her, and we have me and AI. So
Yeah.
that's it. And then my partner, Deb, who does it with me. But really, she'll even tell you it's Donna doing
Yeah.
most of it.
Donna does all
So
of Deb's the
I do all the
talker, and
production.
Donna's behind the scenes
Yep.
doing
And
all
I'm
the
working
stuff.
on the talking part because
Good for you.
it's even though I can go do presentations like all day long because I prepared for them and I know how to manage the stage well,
Yeah.
it's other stuff like putting it all together and working with Deb and I have to learn how to work together. It's a whole thing. So
For
what I'm
sure.
saying is don't put it out there that I've been out there. People just see me more
No, I
because
mean that as a
yeah,
compliment.
you
It's
can do it. You
100% a
can.
compliment. And the
You
real
just have to ask.
thing is one of my biggest clients is a major social media influencer. I
There you
was
go.
just talking with him on Monday. He was like, Hope, just film 30 short reels and send them to me. We need to do your YouTube. He wants to do it for me. But I was
Mhm.
like, so I wouldn't even have to do it. He has a crew who will do it for me. And I've just been like, I just need to push myself.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of warning there is that no matter how much you do put into this, you're going to feel, and this is for everybody here, no matter how much you put into whether it's your social media presence or speaking at conferences or what kind of visibility you're getting, you will always feel like you're not doing enough.
Yep.
And what I want to encourage everybody to do, and I know what Melissa is asking us to do here as well, is pick one thing. Pick one manageable, doable thing and just start with that because it is very easy to feel like because it is endless, whether you're talking about marketing, reels, speaking, um, getting out there and finding your ideal client it no matter what you're doing, you could always be doing more. And so be a little bit careful about how much pressure you're putting on yourself to should and think about what you could be doing. Think about ideas, evaluate them, prioritize them. And you might want to prioritize them by picking the lowest hanging fruit, the easiest ones to do, not necessarily the biggest bang. So think about that because I don't want everybody else to have the same level of anxiety that I do.
So one thing I suggest is just start wherever you are, just start. Start one thing, and over time, you just keep going. You have to be consistent and persistent. So if you want to do YouTube videos, you want to just start. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, if you guys watch our stuff, it is one take, and we turn the camera on, we turn the mics on, and we go. And then at the end, we're ending, and some of them don't end well. If you've ever watched some of ours, there's tech issues. We don't care. I think that was part of it. We're old now, so we don't care. And our
Weren't you,
podcasts are
like,
the same
upside
thing.
down or sideways one time or
Yeah,
something?
that's our most popular video, by the way. We did it upside down with Ted Callahan and at Intuit Connect last year. So we're going to recreate that actually next year on purpose because it still is our most popular video
That's
by far.
adorable.
And
That is adorable.
and yeah, and that was just us starting. We didn't we just turn the camera on and go. And every time we record a podcast, if you've ever listened to them, we have the question that we start with a question and we answer it. We don't rehearse. In fact, I screw reading up the questions a lot. I'm working on it, but I still screw it up a lot. And and then we don't even know where we're going to go. Sometimes it stays with the question and sometimes we're on a journey, but we try to keep it under 10 minutes. But yeah, I just go. Just
Yeah.
start something, whether you're going to go search for new clients, just go, because it's the journey that gets you moving forward, and it's being consistent and persistent. But think of it as a journey, and you have little quests along the way. Like for everything you do in your business, that's what I do. I have like all these little journeys. So
Thank you
anyway,
so
that's
much,
mine.
Donna. I really appreciate that input. That is super helpful. Joanna, do you want to come off mute and
Yes, I had listed on my LinkedIn that I had done presentations for a small business development center. Actually, I'm trying to think, they paid me electronically, but that was the first amount of money that I deposited to my LLC. I wish it would have been a check so I could like frame it, you know how people would do that?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I was so happy. I walked into the office and I said, and the lady was like, "Why are you here?" And I'm like, "I'm looking for a local lawyer to review my engagement letter. Um, I don't know like about how much that would cost. I'm like, intimidated." And then she was like, "Okay, what kind of business do you have?" And when I mentioned bookkeeping and that I was willing to train, she's like, "Would you be willing to do a presentation? We have funding and whatever." Like she gave me a number. I didn't even negotiate. I was like, "Yes, okay, whatever you want." Like I couldn't even believe it. And that's how it started. And I listed that on my she would tag me like when the events would come. And then out of nowhere, now I live in a totally different state and city. Somebody found me, and now they messaged me on LinkedIn like, "I don't know these people. I don't have common friend connections, whatever." And they told me they were looking for instructor in the city of Austin, and like it's like that just like fell there. But if you don't put it out there, if you don't put that you have a speaking engagement, so the small business development centers, they don't always have funding if that's really important for you, if you're willing to do it for free.
Yeah.
Now, of course, that's not niche specific. Also, co-working facilities,
Yes.
they may have some stuff.
I have done
And
quite a few talks at co-working facilities. That is a
yeah.
really excellent place.
Mhm.
I have a talk that I give called Why Not to Start a Small Business. And I tell them all the things that could go wrong. And then at the end of the talk, I say, and if you still want to start a small business after hearing all of these things that could go wrong and will be more difficult than you think, then reach out to me because we'll take care of your bookkeeping and your tax. Yeah.
And there are like local, sometimes there's more local like networking groups that are not like big association, like a women's thing. And if there isn't one, then maybe
Yeah.
you start one, a women's whatever, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you never know.
And Becky
Um,
Martinez in the chat has mentioned that they have a small business center, which is a
mhm,
government-sponsored organization, and they
mhm,
often ask for guest speakers, and they
mhm.
will often pay. And whether that's
Oh,
Zoom presentations or in-person presentations to local businesses, and they often invite her to create presentations that might be of interest. And one of the ways that I found in Chicago, back when I used to do this, was I reached out to some other presenters for the Chicago Business Development Center. And I reached out to other presenters and I said, "Hey, how did you get your start talking with them?" And they said, "Oh, let me put you in touch with my person." So I actually reached out to other speakers, like a lawyer that was doing that and an HR person that was doing that, saying, "I want to do the same thing."
and hope, just I don't think you need to be like well known or whatever terminology you use, because there's some people that are in our industry is filled more with introverts than extroverts. I don't think everybody's interested in speaking. Like you might be closing yourself like an opportunity thinking like, well, five other accountants are already probably beating. How do you even know that? Like some people don't have the time. That's not in their passion. Like whatever their business doesn't align with that, they don't want to do it. So like you never know. I'm not a polished speaker. I have an accent. When I'm nervous, I forget English and Spanish and like nothing comes to mind. I'm like all over the place. But when I give my presentations, people tell me they love my energy. They love that I kept it real. I use very dumbed down terms. I'm not gonna be there like GL and depreciator and things like that. They're not gonna understand. And like they love that. And I use analogies because that's the way I learn. So because I learned that way, I feel like maybe that'll help other people learn that way. And then they get the feedback form and they say that they love the analogies, like that's gonna stick in their brain. So
There's one
you
thing you
never know
said
what's
that
unique
I
about
there's
you.
one thing you said
Like,
I have to respond to. I just cannot resist. You mentioned that that you have an accent as if it is something that takes away from how good a presenter you are, and that is simply not true. One of the very best presenters that any of us know is Hector Garcia. Now, if he doesn't have an accent, then I am a monkey's uncle. That is ridiculous. He's got such a thick
people are
accent.
self-conscious about it though, Nancy.
Well,
Like,
I understand, and I want to say that your accent is part of what makes you sound like you, and you should celebrate it. Vanessa Vasquez has an accent, Mariette Martinez has an accent, and they are wildly popular, excellent presenters. So I would actually lean into your accent and celebrate it because it's part of what makes you sound you, the way that like me being spastic and making silly sounds or whatever is part of what makes me when I present. So I would encourage you to lean into it and to celebrate it and take some of those things that make you feel self-conscious and say, well, maybe this is part of what makes me special and different.
And it's true because people just want the information. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm not the most eloquent person when it comes to the English language. People just want the information. They really do. And if they feel comfortable in the way that you're presenting it, they're going to receive it. They're going to be happy you're there. They're going to
So
celebrate
true.
you.
It's so true. Well, we have had, unless there are any closing remarks here, I want to be conscious of everybody's time. I did ask Melissa ahead of time if she would be able to stay afterward because I thought this kind of gorgeous, wonderful, incredibleness might happen, and it did because y'all are incredible. Any last thoughts before we close out?
I just want to do a shout out to my personal friend Julia, who came and joined Ask a CPA.
Yay!
I think we want to recommend it.
Hello.
She's the coolest
Putting
person.
me on
Get
the
to know
spot
her.
there.
I'm so
Julia,
sorry.
we are so happy to have you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm jealous. She's my friend. She's not your personal friend. She's my personal. Julia, who did you meet first? Let's settle
Julia,
this
now
one
they're
time. Let's
fighting
settle
over
this.
Oh
you.
my God, I love you guys both. Okay.
No, Julia helped me in my first year in my firm. Julia helped me so much. Okay, so I got to give her flowers now. If it wasn't for Julia, I
Thank
probably wouldn't be
you.
sitting here. I wouldn't have made it through year one as a bookkeeper. So
Oh my gosh,
Thank
that's
you.
so beautiful. I love that so much. Well, Julia, people are fighting over you in our community, and I just feel lucky to know you. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Melissa, thank you very much for sharing your gems of wisdom with us today. That was inspiring. It got me thinking. It got everybody brainstorming. I will make sure that you get a copy of the chat so you can see how much love was being thrown your way. There were so many things. Oh, we've got one more thing that popped up in the chat. I'm curious, Tao is saying, I'm curious if it would be helpful to have a thread / with topics that we have given talks and speaking engagements on. I love that. That is a really great idea. I am going to write that idea down. I'm going to maybe call it presentation prowess, taking that title from Theater of Public Speaking. And I'll see if we can get a channel and then we can all post in there about the talks that we've given. We can post links to those talks. And then people will also know what kinds of talks what kinds of subjects we have spoken on, partially because maybe somebody will want to have you come speak with their group. Or maybe it will give them ideas about topics that they can speak on if they haven't taken that journey yet. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. Thank you, Melissa, for sharing so much of yourself with us. We really appreciate it. And please, everyone, knowledge is power. So remember to keep asking questions. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.